A French defense, a classic choice for those looking for a solid, resilient structure.
It's a battle for the center from the first move. Notice the purple squares in the middle, that's where the tension will live for the first few dozen plies.
White gets the bishop to d3, and black hits back immediately with c5.
A bit provocative from white. He's prioritizing control over the e4 square, but it leaves the d-file potentially vulnerable.
Both sides finish their development and castle, a relatively quiet start.
Quiet perhaps, but the heat map is already shifting. The red is starting to bleed into the center, though black is holding their own.
And white decides to eliminate the knight on f6.
A strategic trade. He's trying to weaken black's kingside, but he's giving up the bishop pair, which usually pays dividends in open positions.
The queen slides into g6. Black is starting to poke at the white king.
This is a probe. Black is testing white's nerve and seeing if he can create a target on the kingside.
White attempts a tactical shot, jumping the knight into d5.
A shot, Marcus, that's a desperate gamble. He's just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks.
Black isn't hesitating, taking the knight immediately and forcing a series of exchanges.
Precisely. The heat map is shifting now. The blue is becoming significantly more dominant in the center, and white's structure is crumbling.
Those doubled f-pawns are a heavy price to pay for that excursion into d5.
A permanent weakness. Black will exploit those pawns for the rest of the game.
Black simplifies further by trading the rook on d5.
When you have a clear positional advantage, removing pieces often makes the path to victory much clearer.
The rook penetrates to d2, that's a nasty spot for white.
It's a powerful piece. It's effectively cutting the white army in half, restricting the coordination between the rooks.
And the queens are off the board on e3.
A cold, calculating decision. Black is happy to enter a rook endgame where the pawn structure is the deciding factor.
And there goes the pawn on c3.
Removing the defender, the blue control on the queenside is now absolute.
White tries to stir things up with a check on e8.
A common reflex in losing positions, but it doesn't change the fundamental reality of the board.
The rooks are traded on b5. The board is looking very empty now.
White is just delaying the inevitable. The pawn advantage for black is now overwhelming.
Black captures the pawn on h4, creating that outside passed pawn.
The gold standard for winning rook endings. Once you have that, the game is effectively a countdown.
White pushes e5, a last-ditch attempt at counterplay.
Admirable, but black's king is perfectly placed to shut this down without any risk.
The kings are stepping up. It's getting claustrophobic for white.
We've entered the zugzwang phase. White is simply running out of useful moves to make.
The h-pawn marches to h5.
The squeeze is on. Look at the heat map, it's almost entirely blue now. White is completely suffocated.
The white rook is just shifting between a3 and a5. He's completely paralyzed.
Exactly, a rook with no targets is just a spectator at its own funeral.
The h-pawn is crossing the halfway mark.
The clock is ticking. Once that pawn reaches the 6th rank, it's just a matter of technical precision.
The final rook trade on f2.
The final simplification. Now it's just a matter of counting squares until promotion.
g3 and h2, the promotion is a formality now.
The coronation is imminent. White's king is reduced to a witness.
And there it is, a queen on g1.
The inevitable result of a perfectly executed endgame. The technical phase is complete.
Checkmate on d1, a dominant win for black.
A clinical finish. Black never let the advantage slip for a single move.
The pawns advance to g3 and h2.
The coronation is imminent. White's king is reduced to a witness.
Black promotes to a queen on g1.
the inevitable result of a perfectly executed endgame. The technical phase is complete.
And checkmate on d1, black wins.
A clinical finish. Black never let the advantage slip for a single move.